Florida's Miami, futures not too far off. Most East Coast cities have been inundated by global warming. Any dry ground they can get their hands on is under the control of land barons, who are similar to mob boy-style landlords. The town is destitute. Some residents are homeless and live on boats or in specific slum-like areas. People look for any means of escapism and nostalgia in this kind of reality. Nick Bannister, a former soldier, steps in at this point, played by Hugh Jackman. He owns a firm where customers can pay to utilize a specialized device known as a reminiscence machine, which was formerly used during police interrogations. As in classic noir movies, Nick will occasionally narrate the action and describe the setting and his feelings as it happens. He has clients through appointments, together with his partner and fellow ex-veteran Emily Watt Sanders, played by Thandie Newton. This includes Elsa Karin, played by Angela Sarafine, a regular client who constantly visits to repeatedly relive a specific memory involving her and her elderly lover. And Hunk, played by Javier Molina, an old paraplegic vet friend of Nick's. The local police, and especially Avni Castillo, played by Natalie Martinez, originally asked Nick to investigate Walter Sylvan, played by Brett Cullen, a dying landowner who is nonetheless infamous for having a monopoly in the region. Nick's participation is terminated because of his tiredness to the meeting. Even yet, as he is departing, he hears Walter ask his son Sebastian, played by Mojin Aria, if he's found her yet, to which Sebastian responds negatively. A strange, seductive woman named May, played by Rebecca Ferguson, asks for an impromptu session to locate her lost keys one day, right before the store closes. Nick concurs and ultimately finds them. Nick, however, is mesmerized by May's loud singing, especially one song, which he later admits was one that his grandfather used to do before passing away. May and Nick eventually develop a connection and fall in love after reuniting later at one of May's jobs. May tells Nick a tale about how a boat veered off course and she ended up at a white sea house close offshore. Go to a few months later, Nick is searching through his memories to try to determine where May has apparently disappeared to. Watt expresses worry over Nick's obsession, but Nick dismisses it by claiming that individuals don't simply disappear. Nick is contacted once more to investigate folks' recollection as a former enforcer of St. Joe, a mafia boss played by Daniel Wu. Nick persuades folks to accompany him after he sees May with Joe along with corrupt officer on Joe's patrol. While watching the memories, he eventually arrives at a relocation in which May obtains a sizable quantity of the drug Baka from Joe while he is absent from the room, and then assaults Fawkes when she is discovered. As a result, Nick begins to wonder how well he actually knew May, and he decides to travel alone to New Orleans to speak with St. Joe. Nick initially tries to enter St. Joe's headquarters by pretending to be a drug addict. However, it ultimately falls when Joe detects his deception. Joe responds that he hasn't seen May in a while when Nick drops the pretense and asks him about her. Then, after following Nick, Watt intervenes to save Nick from Joe's attempt to drown him in all-heel tank. After a shootout, Hank had already proven Watt as a skilled shooter early in the film. Joe is fatally wounded. Nick is rescued from the tank and Joe's men are killed. Joe begs Watt to end his suffering because he doesn't want to die from suffocation. Watt agrees and then transports Nick home. Later, after digging deeper into his and May's memories, Nick discovers that May had stolen Elsa's memory records from his vault. He also understands that she was working with the corrupt police officer from previously. He is now acknowledged as Cyrus Booth, played by Cliff Curtis, a Joe enforcer. Walt informs him that Walter Sylvan has passed away. His continued land monopoly has incensed the populace. Nick has an epiphany as they see Sebastian as his mother Swati, played by Mariana de Tavira, walk away. Returning to the office, he substitutes Elsa's previous memory for what was taken, then compares it to one Swati had seen in the past. She was a former client of Nick's. A shocking revelation is made. Years ago, Walter had an affair with Elsa, who became pregnant with his subsequent son. In a recreation of the memory he had of Swati, where she informs Walter she's pregnant, Nick visits the Sylvan Manor and interrogates Swati about Walter's affair. Elsa was one of the ladies he allegedly did this with. According to her, Sebastian ends the questioning by having Nick hauled out and having him assassinated. Due to his military background, one of the bodyguards has spared Nick. Nevertheless, he cautioned Nick that if he returns, it wouldn't be so fortunate. Nick then makes an attempt to find Elsa, but he discovers that it's too late after running into a local girl who knew her. Nick surmises that May is a lady who killed Elsa and kidnapped and supposedly killed her son Freddie, the child Walter had impregnated with her. Nick keeps looking for Elsa, but Cyrus, who has many more scars than he did previously, amuses and subdues him by telling him to leave May's trail. Cyrus phones someone, pretending it's May, to let them know Nick won't bother them anymore. Unfazed, Nick follows Cyrus to a vacant garbage factory, where there are many homeless people, and confronts him about May. Cyrus taunts him and encourages him to try to murder him. Nick hesitates, and he runs, and Nick follows. The two struggle, but Nick eventually sneaks up on Cyrus and knows him out with a sedative, despite almost drowning at one point. In order to question Cyrus, Nick brings him back to his office and places him in the recollection machine. Here, it is revealed that Cyrus has forced May to work for him through blackmail. The two had previously worked together for St. Joe, but May left them in order to get sober and live a moral life. With the intention of breaking into his vault and stealing Elsa's memory records, he used facts Hank had unintentionally revealed to her, such as the song and Fignin losing her keys, to manipulate Nick into a relationship. Later, after they had both located Elsa and Freddie, Cyrus killed the former. Before Cyrus restrained her, May had a change of heart and saved Freddie instead of kidnapping him. Later, Cyrus gave her a bulk medication to make her tell him where she had hidden Freddie. Instead, May leaves Nick an ambiguous message since she knows he will view this memory. She says she's sorry for tricking him, that she genuinely does love him, and that she should have told him everything right away. Nick is devastated as May then kills herself by hurling herself to the ground. Instead of killing Cyrus, Nick chooses to traumatize him by recalling how a St. Joe's men burned and mutilated him before turning up the machine's power and electrically lobotomizing him. There is one more twist, though. During one of Swati's reenchantment, Nick visits the Sylvan Manor once more and confronts Sebastian, who is really the brain behind everything. He, not May, was the one who gave Cyrus the order to kill Elsa and Freddie because he was worried that Freddie's existence might jeopardize his future. On receiving a tip from Nick, the police were able to find Freddie alive and well at the White Sea House that May had mentioned to Nick. Nick calls Sebastian's bluff after he first threatens to kill Nick and then himself. A tearful Sebastian sobs in his mother's arms as Nick departs. Nick stops by Watt's new workplace. Nick admits to purposefully burning Cyrus' brain, a crime that carries a prison sentence, as the two make amends. However, Nick continues to tell Wirt the entire tale off screen while urging her to tell Avery and the police everything. Later on, Nick is seen making his way back to his office while protests erupt all across Miami. Through narration, it is made clear that the servant family's stranglehold over the town's land has been ultimately broken thanks to the information Nick provided to the police, indicating Sebastian would probably go to jail. Additionally, Nick seems to be only recently been released from prison after serving a relatively light sentence for what he did to Cyrus. He goes back to his office and uses the relocation machine once more to relive his interaction with May. One final time jump onward to a later time period. Nick, who is now elderly, is still within the machine, while Wirt, who is also elderly, is keeping an eye on him and placing flowers next to the tank he's in. When her granddaughter inquires as to why she is caring for him, Wirt responds that both she and Nick have long since made independent decisions. As the two go, it became clear that Nick is thinking back to the day he told May the tale of Orpheus and Hades in a way that makes it seem as though they had a happy ending. Nick smiles, content, as we repeatedly return to this recollection.